Introducing 2021's A Quiet Place Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. Nah, I'm just playing. This movie was fantastic. The Quiet Place series is like the perfect mix of thriller and horror. More horror than anything, but it isn't the demonic, head-turning, keep you up at night kind of horror. It's more like,
damn, nature, you scary!
A Quiet Place 2 is doing a lot of things right, and whatever it's getting wrong, it's hardly noticeable. This was the third movie I've seen in theaters since COVID, and the joy of being back in a theater has not worn off yet, especially when a movie this good is out. 7.8 on IMDb, a stunning 91% on Rotten, and 71% on Metacritic. Go see this movie. I love the first one. It felt like a good ending for the movie, and I felt like it was conclusive enough to leave you satisfied but open-ended enough to create a sequel. And spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, I will be talking about this movie in depth. There will definitely be a third. In the most non-disrespectful way possible, this series is a one-trick pony. Most horror movies are. That's what gets you into the door. The gimmick here is sound. If you've seen the first one, you know that to be true. But what makes A Quiet Place different is that they continue to commit to that element, not just to scare you in different ways, but to continue to engage you. You find out in the previous film that it's sound that dooms survivors, and it's sound that can save them simultaneously. This clever writing is a commitment to the central aspect of the film, which is sound itself. Sure, they're able to use old school tricks such as musical cues and jump scares to entertain you, but it's this commitment to the sound aspect of the film that keeps it fresh and unique. When you create horror films with one core aspect like this, you have to constantly reinvent the wheel in some aspects to make sure your movie doesn't bore people. The second film immerses you back into the world quickly by picking up seconds where the previous film ended. The house is still burning, there are fresh monster corpses, but you also get a flashback before the events took place. You get to see a little bit more of that fall of humankind as the creatures arrived. Let me back up for a second. They got the lore of the creatures perfectly. So think about a show with some sort of supernatural, otherworldly force, Walking Dead, Signs, Independence Day, Cloverfield, whatever. Most properties get the lore aspect wrong when it comes to the big reveal. When you're watching a zombie film, you often want to know how things happened and why. And oftentimes the reasoning for the zombies showing up or the aliens arriving or whatever is insanely lackluster. Its release or reveal pales in comparison to the actual build-up. If you've seen my Bridgerton video, you know this simply as the build-up being better than the release. A Quiet Place takes the subtle route. It does well not to provide you with too much or too little detail. You see the source of the monsters is actually from outer space, so they're actually aliens. But it isn't some overly complicated lore that removes you from the immersion of A Quiet Place. You watch as a huge meteor enters into the atmosphere during the middle of a baseball game. The sound of cheering fans turns into eerie quietness in seconds. It's a bone-chilling, fear-inducing scene as you know what's coming as the viewer, but the people of this little town don't quite know yet. The commitment to the sound pays off once again, and it doesn't bore you. You get just enough of civilization collapsing that you want more. You want to know if that police officer who protected the family actually survived. You want to know what the government response was when things were initially going down. The movie comes back to present day to show that our surviving family is facing new challenges without John Kransinski. The rest of the world is not as soundproof or as safe as their farm. You know this from the previous movie, but is emphasized on again when the family reaches the end of the sand and makes those first crunchy steps into the world beyond. The movie from here is divided into 3 parts. 2 of the parts occurring simultaneously. The first part is getting to Cillian Murphy's character Emmett. He's a cliche, reluctant to help because of my trauma male protagonist, but the flashbacks in previous movie help tie him to the movie well. On top of that, he gets additional depth because of his connection to Millicent Simmons' character Reagan, who's the main character of the series. She figured out how to make the monsters vulnerable and is trying to take things to the next level, thinking ahead and thinking about the future. She puts herself in harm's way before her family, much to their dismay. This is the second part of the movie. These two going on a journey to find out what lies ahead and how to become safer. The third part of the movie, which occurs simultaneous to this journey, is about Marcus and Evelyn staying put and attempting to stay safe and take care of the baby. It sounds less interesting, but it's anything but. The funny thing is that it's not a new technique for the series. This parallel storytelling that makes the movie great was in the previous film. It causes the movie to compete with itself. You get those cliffhangers that switch from scene to scene when the tension is building, but you aren't getting pulled into less entertaining dialogue. You're just flipping back and forth between the primary threat, which are the monsters. For a moment, we find out that there is a different threat, a group of odd-looking people who nearly kidnap Reagan. These people are handled in a very satisfying manner, in which the monsters are drawn to them and they are all killed quickly. I have to give them a lot of props for this because I got Walking Dead vibes when I saw them arrive and thought the franchise was about to switch the threat from the monsters to these weird looking people, which honestly we can't rule out 100%, but we do know that at least these boat people are dead. The movie ends as well as it begins, the parallel storytelling reaching its climax as the music crescendos. The commitment to the sound is shown again, and the movie ends on a high note that's a bit of a cliffhanger. It may actually disappoint some because the ending isn't as clean as the first movie, which felt like it could have been a solo movie, but it's apparent that they are aware of the success of the franchise and are already preparing a third, which is why you get the ending that we received. I enjoyed the ending. It's only the third movie I've seen since COVID, so that, being back in the theater bias might still be there, but man, this movie is really good. I can't wait for the third. 9 out of 10 on the official Black Man's Log scale, and I'll see you guys in the next video.